All right, so I'm on the couch today hanging out with Griffin, and we're watching the Pop-Tarts Bowl, watching college football. I'm trying to figure out, all right, what am I going to say to everybody today? What are we going to talk about? And I thought, you know what? We'll talk some transfer portal news because Oklahoma is getting Will Huggins. This is this is a good day to talk some transfer portal updates. And then the news drops that Zac Alley is going to be taking the defensive coordinator job at West Virginia. So I said, well, scrap any other video idea. This is what we're talking about today. So we're going to react to the Zac Alley news. And literally, as I'm recording this, things are unfolding. So obviously, as you guys hear this, information is going to be changing. Stuff's going to be coming out. But we're just going to react to this because this is not good for Oklahoma football. And as Gabe Eichert literally just put it out 4 minutes ago, and I love the way he put this. A lot of things can be said about OU football right now, but not a single person can say it's boring. And yeah, I think that's the case because Pete Nakos and Pete Thamel have reported that Zac Alley will be rejoining Rich Rodriguez as the defensive coordinator at West Virginia. You heard me right? And for so many weeks, we've kind of heard these rumors, and then it didn't feel like this was going to happen, right? Like, especially after yesterday, it didn't feel like it was going to happen. In a post-game statement from Zac Alley, Zac Alley said on his future of Oklahoma, every year there's going to be something that comes up with these jobs and whatnot, man. But I'm just excited about our team. I think coming back next season, we're going to have a great year, an opportunity to be successful, be a top defense in the country, and hopefully we got some young guys who can help along with us to do that. And George Stoya put that out on Twitter from the excerpt yesterday from his post-game radio interview. But, man, let me tell you, this is a huge blow, and I've seen a lot of people reacting to this news live on Twitter. And, yeah, it is a shit show. That's how somebody put it, and that's what it is. It's a shit show. If you're Brent Venables, this is going to be your, like, what, fifth or sixth defensive coordinator, or not defensive coordinator, just coordinator hire in general. So you had Ted Roof. You replaced him with Zac Alley. You had Jeff Lebby. You replaced him with Seth Luttrell, who you had to fire. And now you're having to hire Ben Arbuckle. And it just seems like Brent Venables can't ever get any stability in this program. And we know that this was a huge shock to not only fans, but to Brent Venables and to the players. Because right now, literally as we're talking about this, and I'm scrolling through Twitter, you see the players reacting to this. Like, wow. And you see Robert Spears Jennings, having the door, walking out, right? Like, this is the reality of what's going on right now. Everybody was blindsided by this, and as you follow some of the insiders that are on Twitter, right? A lot of them were talking about how there was potentially going to be a deal done, right? Like there was maybe something on the table and we were waiting for it to be signed. And, there was this confidence by Oklahoma that Zac Alley would be back next year. Remember, Zac Alley came into Oklahoma, turned this defense completely around. Now, we all assume it's Zac Alley. Maybe it was Brent Venables' genius, but, Zac Alley being the guy that we all thought, the protege to Brent Venables, a guy that Brent Venables had groomed up, like brought up in college football. Zac Alley helped turn Oklahoma's defense into one of not only the best in the SEC, one of the best in the entire country. And doing that with, most of these defenses have a lot of five-star talent. Oklahoma doesn't have the five-star talent the Georgias and the Texas and the Alabamas of the world have. So they really developed the guys that they had in this room and turned it into a great defense. And so you felt confident about this guy coming back next year and Oklahoma's defense being so great. And this was one of the best defenses that Oklahoma's had since 2009. And so you look at this and it's disappointing and it feels embarrassing that Oklahoma is losing their defensive coordinator to West Virginia. And I get that there are outside, I guess, circumstances that would tie him to the West Virginia job. Maybe it's more stability, knowing that it's a 3-year deal and there's a potential head coach in waiting tag on Zac Alley at West Virginia. Maybe there is all of that there. And if that's the case, maybe you understand it a little bit more. But as of yesterday, if you're Oklahoma, you felt good about this. And now you're completely blindsided by this hire, by him leaving to go be the defensive coordinator at West Virginia. And it, as an Oklahoma fan, just makes you sick. It literally makes you feel like what everybody has said for so many years is becoming true. Oklahoma is becoming the next Nebraska, because it seems like there's no stability here. It seems like all of the key indicators that you see happening on the field are the same things that happened to Nebraska, with losing close games, not being able to close those out, whether for good or for bad. And you look at everything going on, and you have to ask yourself, what does Oklahoma do next? What are the names Oklahoma could go after? Because you would imagine going outside of the program for another defensive coordinator hire, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, because everybody understands that Brent Venables might be on the hot seat this next season. And so they understand they might be walking into a death sentence. So what's next for Oklahoma? What is the next best option for defensive coordinator at Oklahoma? And you got to look at your 3 position coaches. You got to look at Todd Bates as your defensive line coach. You have to look at Jay Valai as your cornerbacks coach, and you have to look at Brandon Hall. All 3 of those guys, I think, bring you different skill sets. Todd Bates being the exceptional recruiter that he is. And I get it. I think a lot of people are underwhelmed by his recruiting to Oklahoma compared to what it was at Clemson. But remember, Clemson in that region, they were able to pull more Georgia dudes, right? But Todd Bates still a dude. And he's been with Brent Venables for a while. I feel like he would understand what Brent Venables wants to do. Brandon Hall. This was a guy that used to be a defensive coordinator elsewhere, multiple stops, and Brandon Hall was really good at the job. Now, maybe Brandon Hall doesn't want that. Maybe he just likes being a safeties coach because there's less stress on the job, and he's really good at that too. Nobody can argue that Oklahoma safeties room has been bad since Brandon Hall has taken it over. Or you could look at a guy like Jay Valai, who also has been a really good recruiter, not only at Oklahoma, but at Alabama. People are a little suspect on his coaching, but maybe he would be better suited in the defensive coordinator role, and you could bring in a better cornerbacks coach, right? Maybe that's it. And then, as Jay over at Unfair Sports put it, I think there's one easy option for your linebackers coach. You have a guy by the name of James Skalski right now who is helping out with the linebackers, helping out on the defensive side of the ball, that you should definitely elevate to be your linebackers coach. He's a Brent Venables guy through and through. He understands what Brent Venables wants to do, being a former Brent Venables linebacker, and I think he would be the easy elevation to the job. So, Sooner Nation, it's not easy. It feels like a shit show, and I'm sure everything's going to be changing as everything continues to happen and go on. But I want to hear from y'all, so join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Give me your thought, because it feels like Brent Venables, the OU staff, players, and including fans are absolutely stunned by this news that Zac Alley is going to be the new defensive coordinator at West Virginia.